All right, welcome all to this new season, I would say, of the Continual Learning, Continual AI seminars series. Today we have the pleasure to host Matthias Delange from QnA, who is going to talk about the Continual Learning in Computer Vision workshop organized at CVPR 2022. And so it's a real pleasure to host you today for the first episode of the season 2022. Thanks, Matthias, for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me here at Continual AI.
Yeah, and so this first episode is going to be all about the presentation of the workshop, which is one of the largest gathering of continual learners, I would say, worldwide. We had a couple of editions before this one in the past, and today, I mean, this year, Matthias, you are leading the efforts, and I think that you have prepared for us quite an interesting presentation and lineup of insights for this workshop. So I would give you the stage for presenting, I'd say, the ideas and the program, the basics of the workshop. Then I hope we can spare a bit of time to have some questions from the audience, from YouTube. They can write on the chat, or they can just join the Microsoft Teams links just pick up here. So that we can at least give a few answers of the commonplace, let's say, questions that people, researchers, enthusiasts may have about the workshop. So that's something that I think will be very, very useful, given the fact that we will have this workshop the 20th of June, and we have the deadline for submitting the papers in the next month, like the 7th of March.
The 9th.
The 9th.
Yeah. Exactly.
So thank you, Matthias, for taking the time, and please go ahead. The stage is yours.
All right. Thanks a lot for the introduction, Vincenzo, and thanks to the audience for attending here. I'm very excited to actually present our next edition on the CLVision workshop. So the idea is first to sketch a bit what the workshop is all about, why we are doing this. And then we have this live Q&A. We will answer all of your questions and frequent questions that are occurring. So I'm sharing my screen at the moment. So if there's any issues, just tell me.
Yep.
So first, continual learning. What is it and why do we need it? Continual learning, also called lifelong, endless, or never-ending learning. What we try to address is really this paradigm shift where we have the standard machine learning setup, where we have a static data set that we train once on and we deploy this in the real world. We actually try to accumulate this knowledge from new data that is continually presented to our system. So it really adapts with new data from these environments. So why would we actually want to do this? So first of all, you want to really tackle this resource efficiency. And this can be thought of in a couple of perspectives. So first of all, you have the data efficiency. Each time we want our system to learn new skills, or we would actually have to retrain, accumulate our entire data sets and retrain for this. And if we actually want to go to applications that adapt in the real world and are also sustainable, we really need to reduce this compute power. And this is where continual learning is actually very important. Resource efficiency can also be thought of as that we only have this limited compute available. If you think about applications such as learning on the edge. Also in real world applications, we live in such a complex world. If we want to have autonomous agents operating there in unseen environments and so on, then continual learning and adapting to these environments becomes very important. Also think about personalization in smart homes and so on. And a third take on this is, as humans, we are actually also agents in this very complex world that is, and we have evolved to really function very well here. So we can learn about how we as humans learn actually from continual machine learning, but we can also take inspiration from the human learning process and incorporate this in our machine learning processes. Okay. But there's actually one keyword that really entangles continual learning, and that it's interdisciplinary. So you can see here, continual learning, it's connected to so many other fields, going from domain adaptation, going from one domain to another, to active learning and searching out which samples you want to have labeled, to meta learning, reinforcement learning, and you can just name it. And because it's such an interdisciplinary field, I think it's very important towards this community building. And it's key to the progress, where we also need this open communication about the problems and we discuss the latest states of the field. So about this community building, we are really a growing community, as Vincenzo referenced to. This is already the third edition. And the previous edition was actually a very big success. We had nearly 600 unique attendees. We had a 24% growth in our submissions, and we had really over 8 hours of live content. And actually, we just tried to make it even more successful, and we can do that with you. And we have 3 actually mission statements that we really want to carry on further in this third edition. That's to really represent the current state of the field, of course, but we also really want to try to combine academia and industry and really bring them together. And then thirdly, we also really focus on inclusiveness and representing open science. So now I'm just going to go a bit more into detail in these 3 mission statements and show how we actually incorporate them in the workshop. So also, if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to interrupt me. So the current state of the field, how do we incorporate this in the workshop? Well, we have a very diverse program. We have talks and panel discussions with invited speakers from people and researchers actually submitting to the workshop. We have oral and poster presentations. We also really try to simulate really interactive coffee breaks where also very interesting discussions can happen. We also have a benchmark challenge provided by one of our sponsors. And we have also very interesting awards which you can contest for. So below you can see the link. It's actually just a reference to the main website, and you can really find everything there. So the program and any latest news. So in our program, we have talks and panel discussions, and these are our amazing speakers. And as I said, we are really focusing on this inclusiveness. And this year, we also really try to focus not just on the diversity of backgrounds, but also on the level of seniority. So we have also 2 speakers who are more junior in the field, but who have shown very promising research. And we can only learn from this hands-on experience. And we think having this range from hands-on experience to more senior people is a very interesting mix there. So, of course, you can participate as well. You can submit your work, and you know, if it gets accepted, then you can get an oral or a poster presentation, and you have this whole audience of continual learning people and of related fields who are directly interested in what you're doing. So this really is the place to be if you're doing continual relating work. But even though CVPR is a computer vision conference, we are not limited to vision only or even just purely continual learning. As I said, it's really interdisciplinary. So all the subfields I've been showing before, but also on the other dimension of which tasks to solve from vision to NLP to speech, submit to our workshop. And I think it's progress in each of these related fields is actually progress for the field of continual learning. So there are also some very nice awards that you can contest for. provided by our amazing sponsors, ServiceNow, the Matrix projects, and NVIDIA. And the most important deadline now to keep in mind is to submit before the 9th of March. So all these deadlines, you can also find them on the website, and they're always up to date there. So the second mission statement is we bring together the academia and the industry. So we have a very interesting benchmark challenge by Meta, and they even provide a new data set specifically for this workshop. And they really focus on this egocentric data, and it's really a video-based data set, which is a very important application aspect of continual learning. And there will be 3 tracks focusing on instance level classification and also detection, both on the category and instance level. So they have a very generous rewards here, over about 10K that will be divided over the tracks. So there's also a very nice incentive, and we encourage you to also participate here. The start of the challenge here is actually on the 4th of March, and there will be a pre-release of a demo dataset which you can play around with. And the actual submissions start on the 27th of March, and then you have still quite some time until 29th of May until we decide on the winners. They will be contacted and then presented also on the workshop itself. So the third mission statement is this inclusiveness and open science. And we really try to carry out these values from ContinualAI, where this is really important to address this very interesting and interdisciplinary environment, and to create really this open environment to do research in. And this is also why the workshop will be entirely free. You can join us on the 20th of June. You just can put it in the in your agenda, and you're very welcome to join us. And again, we really focus on inclusiveness. We go from academia to industry, more senior to junior level, and actually all kind of backgrounds. So we really want to invite you to join us as well. So this is the CLVision team, amazing team that's making it all happen. And a couple of them are also here in the session now. So it's really now the time to ask your questions, and we can give you a very nice answer. So there's also a QR code to the website if you need any more information. And again, thanks to all our sponsors who are also making this possible. All right, so now it's time for the audience. If you have any questions, we are here for you and here to answer anything might pop up in your minds.
Thank you, Matthias. Thank you so much for the great presentation. So I don't think we don't have anything to ask. You have been perfect in your presentation. I'm joking, but yeah, maybe I can start with a question just to break the ice. So you mentioned that this workshop, let's say, is focusing on continual learning in general, not just on, let's say, computer vision topics. So do you think that the reviewers somehow would somehow undervaluate topics, let's say, papers that are onto presenting, let's say, results on other topics that are not computer vision related?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, Vincenzo. And how we try to address this issue is this year we really try to improve the reviewing process, and we're also making a tailored reviewer guideline. So we're really explicitly giving some guidelines on what we expect from the reviewers and from the submissions. And we will state explicitly that both vision, NLP, speech, whatever, If it's related to continual learning or any of the related fields, they should never penalize on something like that. So yeah.
That's great to hear, and I totally agree with you that it's often difficult to calibrate reviews, right, for workshop. But another thing that it's quite nice is that given the continuity of the workshop, the quality and the scope, everything is kind of more consolidated. So I'm really happy that we made it also this year, right? So for the third edition, I think that also helps in understanding the quality, which I think has been also very high in the previous editions, and better evaluate in terms of reviews the work that would be submitted there. So thanks. Do we have any questions from the audience here or from YouTube? Kind of more consolidated. So I'm really happy that we made. So for the third edition, I think that also helps in understanding the quality, which I think has been also. In the meanwhile, let me thank also the Continual Learning seminars team that made this session and the following up possible, especially James Smith, that is a new addition to the team from Georgia Tech, and Kaylan Cooper and Andrea Cosso and other people that are helping us with this. So feel free to reach out to us if you want to give us feedback about the Continual Learning seminars, or if you want to join and talk about your paper in the next sessions. Then coming back to the Continual Learning workshop. So I guess another quite common question that may arise is about the challenge. So the challenge is quite, it seems, as you presented, to be quite an important asset and endeavor of the workshop. There are a lot of prizes and there are two different tracks. So can you say something more about maybe the what we expect from this challenge? Why we also open this new track on object detection? It is quite novel, I guess. And maybe we can hear also from Lorenzo some insights about what's coming in the next few weeks.
So yeah, thanks a lot for the question. I think Lorenzo indeed is also in the audience, so I think it's very good so that he can answer the question.
Yeah. Thank you, Matthias. Just to answer, to anticipate the most common questions, the challenge for this CLVision workshop will be quite different from the ones of previous workshops, because we are, let's say, introducing tracks for object detection. So in general, the CLVision workshops, the challenge organized in this workshop were quite unique in their own aspects. If you look back at previous websites, previous challenges, for the first CLVision workshop, the benchmark was a quite complex one with a lot of single experiences with egocentric videos. The second workshop introduced the benchmarks for continual reinforcement learning. And for this benchmark, for this challenge, we introduced continual object detection. So in general, object detection is quite complex. And there are not many works out there regarding continual object detection. There are more, let's say, focused on classification. And for this workshop, we want to unite the, let's say, the classification tasks and detection tasks. So if you look at the challenge website, you'll see that there are three main tracks, one for object classification and two for the object detection. For the classification track, it will be quite a classic track. So the basic idea is to confront with a class incremental benchmark in which the images will came from a video stream of common household objects in a household environment. And the same data set which will be provided by Meta will be used also for object detection. But the object detection tracks will be two different ones, not just a single one. They will be continual category level detection track and instance level detection track. The main difference is that for the category level track, which is the easier one, we'll ask you to provide a solution for, let's say, training the model for, let's say, accumulating knowledge at the category level. So sheet source in general, or let's say glasses, light bulbs, and any object that will appear in those images, while the instance level detection track will be a little bit harder because we will ask you to provide a solution to identify specific object in the environment. So that specific mug, that specific cup of water, and things like that. And there will be many objects from the same category. So that will be a kind of more difficult track, and we really thank Meta for providing the data set for this challenge, which was collected and annotated specifically for this track. And finally, the dev kit will be mostly based on Avalanche, which is now which will come with the detection and distributed training support. So there will be, let's say, a very tailored solution for the challenge, and we are really proud of this.
So from what I know, Lorenzo, the object detection, let's say a task, requires somehow distributed training facilities that it's quite difficult to have and to implement from scratch, right? So you mentioned that this dev kit will be based on Avalanche. So what can the participants expect in terms of the easiness of use, let's say, and the development of object detection strategies based on Avalanche?
Yeah, Avalanche doesn't currently support detection. We are working on this before the start of the real competition, which again will be released in two different, let's say, packages. First, a demo track, which will not count, of course, towards the final score, and the current real challenge with the full data set, which will be released in the 27th of March. And by that time, the distributed training and detection support will be implemented into Avalanche, so the user will be able to use the full Avalanche framework, which includes a very nice data loading facility, training with the strategies already implemented, at least the skeletons, and all those plugins are found inside of Avalanche, and of course metrics and logging. So Avalanche, for those of you that don't know about Avalanche, is a real huge project inside of ContinualAI, which aims to cover all aspects of continual learning research, from data loading to logging. So having this kind of framework, this library to support the challenge means that you have a lot of tools, a lot of possibilities to develop your solution. And regarding distributed training, distributed training will, for the moment, is implemented in a quite amazing way, because it doesn't really require you to disrupt your code to implement distributed training. Avalanche takes care of most of the difficult parts of this. So don't worry about this. There will be a very simple API to even support distributed training, while for detection it will be even easier, because we are counting on doing all the hard work for you.
That's amazing to hear, Lorenzo. And so I guess within the dev kit that will be released, there will be also starting baselines from which you can just start and add a few lines of code to have your solution evaluated on CodeLab, I guess, evaluation platform. So that's great. I think that we have a couple of questions from the YouTube channel. So thanks to those of you that sent your questions there. The first one is, what about the panel discussion? There will be a panel discussion as well into the program, Matthias?
Yeah, so we have invited, so let me go back actually to our program. So we will have our invited speakers, you can see here. And we're also organizing a panel discussion with these invited speakers. So previous year, we had some very positive comments on this panel discussion. People are very positive about this. So we definitely want to include this in this edition as well. So I really think that this edition is really something to look forward to.
Yeah, and personally, I love the panel discussion. So I try to follow the panel as much as I can, and even maybe answer. Send some questions myself. So that's great to hear that we would have at least a 60 minutes discussion within the workshop.
Exactly. And this is where the interesting discussions happen, right? And all all the audience can interact also with the speakers. So it's really a lot of fun.
And for sure, the people that are watching here, this session, be sure that will be some channels, or maybe on ContinualAI, maybe on Twitter, maybe, I don't know, but there will be the space to ask your own questions, right? So we don't want to have just pre-made questions, but something is very live and interactive with the rest of the people attending the workshop. And so another question that we had is about the papers. This is a very also commonplace question, so I think that we should try to take this one. So can we submit a paper as a non-archival paper and then convert it to a non-archival post reviews if necessary?
Okay, so I'm not quite sure why this would be necessary, but usually at the submission at CMT, we provide the opportunity to say if you want it to be included or not in the proceedings. Of course, we are providing support, and you can always contact us with this kind of questions, and we can see if it's applicable to the scenario or not.
I think that indeed this specific question wouldn't be possible. So this idea of submitting a paper that is not archival, then change it after the reviews. So we have just this form on CMT. When you submit the paper, you can choose if you want that paper to go into the proceedings of CVPR workshops, of course, if it gets accepted. That's the only choice that you can make. Or if it gets accepted and you say that you don't want it to go into the proceedings, that's possible. So you can present it in the workshop if you get nice reviews and it gets accepted. But if for any reason you don't want it to be archival, then you can say, no, I don't want, and that's okay for us. And also, maybe we can also mention here that we are very glad to host CVPR published papers, right? In the 2022 CVPR.
Exactly. So also maybe regarding the applications for the or the submission guidelines is actually we don't really accept dual submissions except for those who are also presented at CVPR itself. So also if you're going for CVPR, please submit. You'll get even more visibility at our workshop with a whole community that will be interested in your work. So.
Yeah, that's also was another question, right? So that is also very interesting. I don't know if you have the answers here, Matthias, but is going to be live or remote, this workshop, or maybe both?
So that's a very good question, and I must say I think for now it remains a question for us as organizers as well. So we rely actually on the decisions of CVPR itself. Is it going to be live or not? So for now, they haven't declared anything final yet. It seems that it will be live for now. But even in the case it will be live, we will really do our ultimate best to make it a hybrid version. So we can have really the maximal reach over the entire planet. People can join in. I will try to have a live stream of the workshop. Also, like Vincenzo said, these different channels to ask questions, I will also try to really include it, so that it's not just a workshop confined to just those who can make it to CVPR. So we're also prepared for a fully virtual workshop. We have experience in that in our previous editions, so in either case, I think we are prepared for whatever format it may be.
Another question from YouTube. So are oral and best paper awards applicable for non-archival papers?
So yeah, another good question. So thanks first of all for this question. And actually the answer is pretty similar to the one we gave before. You can choose whether you want them to be archival or not. But you can still get an oral presentation or a best paper award. The choice is really up to you.
Perfect. Then I don't see any more questions on YouTube, so feel free to ask if you're listening. And so what about questions coming from the Microsoft Teams chat? So is there anyone here that wants to maybe ask some question?
Just have a small question about the topics. There will be space for meta-learning applied to continual learning benchmarks papers.
So if you mean if you apply meta-learning on the continual learning benchmark, so let me go back to the related fields here. So actually any of these related fields, then you can also find this a list that we provide also on the website. All of these related fields, if there's any progress in there, it actually means progress in continual learning. So if you would, for example, indeed have this meta-learning approach and you would apply it on this continual learning benchmark, it would be a very good fit for this workshop and should definitely try to get it accepted in our proceedings.
Thank you.
So Lorenzo, we expect your submission now.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, we have still how much time left? Let's see, till the we said the 9th of March. You have more than 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks. Okay, so any more questions? I think we covered the ground pretty decently, but I'm sure that we are missing something. Well, in any case, I think that Matthias will be very open to answer your questions if you send an email to him directly, or if you use, okay, here you can see in the slide the Matthias email, or you can just go onto the Continual Learning in Computer Vision Workshop website, and there you'll see another email that will reach all of the main organizers. So that's another option. And yeah, we are constantly updating the website. So make sure that you visit that often, especially for the challenge, right, Lorenzo? And then
Exactly.
So thanks again, Matthias. I don't know if you want to say something else or you want to clarify something else.
Yes. So thanks again for organizing this. And yeah, I can just conclude with what I started, is that I'm just really excited to see you all on this amazing workshop, and where we can discuss the latest state of the art in continual learning and have also a lot of fun. So
yeah, that would be great. So I'll see you at New Orleans or live on YouTube when it happens. Thank you so much for joining, Matthias. Thank you all. And I guess we can close Thank you so much for the people that we see this as well on YouTube as a recorded video. And feel free to reach out if you want to speak for the next Continual Learning seminar. And we have this every Thursday at 5 p.m. CET time. So I hope to see you there. And bye.
Bye, everyone. See you.